And a lot of times in relationships, in the same relationship you're in right now, or the one you're about to jump right into, depending on, your ego will take over. Your ego will take over and you'll start making decisions with your ego instead of making a conscious, aware decision. So I always call this the lower heart and this is the upper heart. And if you stop making decisions from here and start making decisions here in this upper heart, you'll find yourself in a lot happier place in relationship.
This is the Modern Lifestyles Club podcast with Leslie, Michael Anderson Fitt, and producer James.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest podcast. This, myself, producer James here, and this is a Modern Lifestyles Club. This is a new kind of podcast where I kind of wanted to bring two experts that I've kind of worked with in the past. You guys know Mike, the Fitness Vault, with Mike Anderson Fit. And actually, Leslie's been a guest on that podcast. You're more of a lifestyle kind of expert, Leslie, and Mike, you're obviously fitness. Leslie, you do dating and stuff like that. Mike, you kind of do the whole nutrition thing and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to be able to create this podcast and bring you guys along and kind of make you have like a certain perspective that, you know, I don't. And I'd like to get people on different platforms to be able to kind of spread the word, you know what? And basically bring people together, give them good advice, and just have a good time talking about different subjects. Especially everyone has a different kind of lifestyle. So again, that's why we called it the Modern Lifestyle Club.
So James and I do a podcast called The Fitness Vault. And we've been friends for quite a long time, but I have been a fitness professional for about 16, 17 years now. I'm also a yoga instructor. I've been studying Ayurveda yoga and Vedic science, and that is the science and study of wisdom and longevity, along with meditation and the asanas of yoga, which are 8 branches of yoga. And I implement a lot of and practices of yoga into my fitness as well with my clients. Fitness is more than just let's get fit. We're trying to get your mind fit, your body fit, and your spirit fit. You got to get the whole little trifecta working, you know? So, but it's all about just feeling good, living the best life you possibly can, and becoming your true self through health and wellness. You know, it's a good life. It's a good life when you figure that out. Yeah.
Cool, Leslie. And you're a unique kind of thing. You're a specialty. So kind of explain, even when you told me, I was like, what is that really? And I had a few people who were like, kind of like, weren't sure what you were. But could you kind of tell the audience exactly what you are so we can have everybody has a crystal clear understanding of what you do and how you do it?
Well, I'm a lifestyle navigator. I give advice based on my personal experience. I've been married for 15 plus years, and I'm a wife, mom. Being able to have everything to make it work together is it's kind of like an art because you have to schedule everything correctly and you have to make everybody happy, which is one of the hardest parts. Having 2 boys in high school and having a daughter in middle school. I don't know if you know about boys, but they're absolutely different than raising girls. Mom of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
Father of
so a
3 as
lot,
well. 3 girls.
yeah, 2 boys and a daughter. So a lot of people come to me for advice on like, how do I make it work? How do I make my whole career and being a mom and a wife work? Because it's not easy. It's a job in itself.
Yes, I've done many times on the playground and had to school some boys on being like, you need to be patient. You cannot just just run up that stairs or go down that slide, and you've got to wait for the other people in the, waiting their turn patiently, mostly girls. Yeah, boys a little bit rambunctious. That's why I was glad I didn't have boys and I have 3 girls.
Yeah, well, boys are so simple. Boys are so like awesome and laid back, and they're easy to, take care of. But girls are, for me, my daughter is, what do they say? I don't know. She's not really a drama queen. She's more of a I need this, I need that, but I need it done perfectly. She's a perfectionist. So where my boys are like, just give me whatever, um, on my sandwich, I'll take cheese and no mayo. And whereas my daughter's more particular with like how she wants it done. So they're, but yeah. So and plus, having a husband is like having another child where you have to, you know, you have to make sure that he's happy too. So that's everything that I give my opinions on to all my friends, which is how I started doing this, was based on how I make my life work, being an entrepreneur.
Has anyone ever come up to you and be like, that is the best advice you have ever given me? Has like a friend has ever done that to you? I mean, because like I said, that's what kind of makes you an expert in that area, where people will take your advice, actually apply it to their life, and have a positive result.
Yeah, all the time. They ask me for advice on, how to rekindle the marriage and how to keep it alive and, how to keep it, because I've been married now for, like I said, a long time. So you've got to keep, and my advice is that they always say it's the best advice ever is pretend like every day is a new day. Does
Okay.
that make sense? So like
Kind of.
just pretend like every day in the morning when you wake up, just make sure that you talk to each other as though, you just met. Keep that love alive and be sweet to each other. Like whenever you're on a first date, you put your best foot forward, and that's what you have to do. And that's when people tell me that that's the best advice, that they try it at home and it works. And then another one that's really good that they always love is have date nights. We have
I do that.
three to five date nights a week, because I'm a big foodie, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and all those
Yes, I've
restaurants
seen you
that
eat many food at restaurants.
yes, I do. I'm really good at making reservations.
How funny. Now, I mean,
Um,
when you give
So
advice, and
yeah, it's like, so yeah, you know that I love food. You're very familiar with all the restaurants that I go to and all the different things that I order. So I make sure that we go have our date nights and we go with our kids and we make it family night. But then we also have date night alone.
mm-hmm.
So that's like the best thing, the best advice that I've given a lot of people, that they've told me, oh my God, that's the best advice I've gotten, was make it, all about your special nights and putting your husband, up there with your kids, and everybody's going to be loved the same. And so, yeah. And a lot of people don't know how to navigate all of that, which is why I'm a lifestyle navigator. But when it comes to me about questions about marriages and love and how to make it work, and how to, because as you know, all marriages, they have to be nurtured and they have to be carefully taken care of. So it's not just about, oh, I'm in a relationship and I want to get married now. No, you have to actually help it grow. And I think because of Bumble and Tinder these days have messed up a lot of that. Everybody just wants to get right to the, to the, how do you say it?
the
Say it.
sex, the hooking up. Well, back in the day when I was single, I mean, I wasn't I don't Tinder and Bumble weren't around. It was like Lava Life and even Match and
No.
stuff like that. I'm showing my age on that one, but yeah, and I was all about the hookups. I was not about the I want a relationship right now. So,
Well, still today, James, everybody's still about the
oh
hookups. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. No, I doubt.
guys have always, single men have always been about hookups, because they're always
Shocking.
going to tell women. They're all, and this is another thing that women come to me about. All my friends say like, "Oh my God, that guy that I met on Bumble, all he wants and Tinder and all these apps, all they want to do is hook up." I'm like, you just figured that out?
Now,
What's some of your experiences on that, Mike? Tell us. You're the single guy.
I have never gone on a dating app yet. Right now, I am completely single. Kind of tough to get out there and meet people like myself. First of all, I have three children just like you guys. Mine are big. They're adults, 30 years old, 25 years old, and 20. Two boys and a girl. So I understand the dynamic of that. I was married for 20 years, got divorced, got into another relationship for 9 years after that. That relationship ended. Thought we were going to get married. Didn't work out. When it comes to dating, I don't. I live in my world is a little bit smaller. I go to work. I come home. I'm focused on basically a healing process right now in life. So the things that I went through, childhood traumas, the things that happened in the relationships, if you just step right out of a relationship and then go jump into another one, I don't always think that's the smartest thing to do, because you need to actually sit back with yourself and go through quite often a healing process, which is a transformation. And that transformation quite often is very uncomfortable. And a lot of us don't want to go through that healing process after a major breakup or a divorce, or losing your family, or what has been your life for X amount of months or years. You know, that healing process is powerful, where you have to sit by yourself alone and dissect yourself, and not point at the other person and say, hey, that's their fault. While you're off in another relationship right away, I think that's always not the smartest thing to do. Sit by yourself, sit alone, get to know yourself better, give yourself an opportunity to heal. Give yourself an opportunity to heal from what you just came out of. Because a lot of times, again, we jump right into another relationship, and you don't give yourself an opportunity to relearn yourself. That is huge, to know self. Do you know yourself after you leave a relationship for a long time? Most of the times, no. You have to sit alone and get to know you and go through the hard moments of being by yourself and understanding, hey, I do like myself. I do enjoy me. I am enough. This is me. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what they were saying to Jennifer Lopez was you need some time to heal. You need some time to just take some time apart and just
Mhm.
relax and find yourself to figure out yourself
Yeah.
because you're jumping into all these relationships.
Hmm.
And, I think that's one of the reasons why she and Ben didn't work out was because she just got into that so fast and she didn't realize, wait a minute, let me step back and remember what it was about our past relationship that didn't work out. And she didn't have time to heal and to figure out what that issue was.
Well,
And I,
Yeah.
don't some
I,
people just have the need to be with somebody and think, "Oh my God, I'm going to die alone. I'm going to die alone," and that's that
Yeah.
mindset,
That's
and it's
called,
like
yeah.
that's kind of, well, I'm not saying pathetic, but it just seems like a vast insecurity that person has, and
Well,
they
it's
need to
called,
jump into something real quick.
yeah. Well, James, that's called codependency. That's what that is. So codependency will, if you have that trait of attaching yourself to any and everything, we have to learn how to be able to have the ability to detach ourselves, even in your own marriages. Give yourself an opportunity to detach and still stay as an individual. Still love that person, take care of them, and put their welfare first before yours, as you should. It's how you nurture a relationship, especially when you love someone. But if you're hopping from one relationship to the next relationship, or going back into the relationship that you just came out of, hoping things are going to change, when you don't give yourself a moment to say, hey, what's going on here? Where are we going wrong? What do we have to do in order to correct those things, instead of pointing the finger at the other person? You're not giving me what I want. That person's not supposed to give you what you want. You are supposed to give yourself what you want. You know, this body and mind is just a costume. And, I always say this, you have a soul that sits inside of this body, and that soul is happy, joyful, and peaceful. But a lot of times in relationships, our egos take over, and our egos feel what? Anger, fear, greed, and sadness. You are not anger, fear, greed, and sadness. Your ego is. And a lot of times in relationships, in the same relationship you're in right now, or the one you're about to jump right into, depending on, your ego will take over. Your ego will take over, and you'll start making decisions with your ego instead of making a conscious, aware decision. So I always call this the lower heart, and this is the upper heart. And if you stop making decisions from here and start making decisions here in this upper heart, you'll find yourself in a lot happier place in relationships. Now, when I say this, these are things that I'm starting to practice myself, because the relationships I had prior failed because I always used my lower heart, the ego, who is always concerned with fear, anger, greed, and sadness, instead of making conscious decisions from inside my mind. Does that make any sense? It's not about what that person is giving you. What can you give yourself, and what can you offer to that relationship? Be a servant of the relationship instead of a receiver of it all the time.
All right, well, then I have
And
an
you'll find
interesting question, Mike.
relationships get happy.
This is kind of for
Yeah.
both of you and Leslie.
Okay.
Since both of you have been divorced,
Yeah.
How, like the whole thing, and you have children, so you have to maintain that kind of relationship with your former, your exes and stuff. How do you guys co-parent, and how do you maintain the relationship in the sense that, it's not like you're not bashing each other. I mean, you're obviously, excuse me, you're obviously divorced for a reason. Something in the relationship didn't work. So how do you guys kind of like pull yourself in the bootstraps, I guess, and actually say, hey, look, you know what? I've got kids. If the kids see us doing, screaming and kind of like just tearing each other down, that's not
Yeah.
going to look good. So get basically the whole co-parenting and maintaining those relationships. How do you guys do it? I mean, Leslie, how did you do it?
Well, it wasn't that we didn't work out. It was that we just kind of grew apart and we mutually decided to just like, um, do it mutually. So we just grew apart because we were both different people when we
Like when you say
first
grow
met.
apart, though, are you just like, obviously when you got together, you had things in common. Did those things, those commonalities just fall to the wayside, or just like, did like life situations like having the kids or just like work or something? What made you guys kind of fall out of love?
That is a great question, James.
No,
Um,
they don't call me
so
producer James for nothing.
you are a great producer. That's why Mike and I love you. So we grew apart because we kind of just like evolved in different
Hmm.
directions. We both like, decided that we both he liked different things than what I
Hmm.
liked. And with time, it just kind of, we decided, oh, hey, let's, just, I don't know, we just decided to mutually decide to
So did you
kind
kind of
of,
like just sit down one day and say, all right, this is just not working out the way I had planned and hoped, and you just was just like, okay, let's get a divorce, and there was no like, I'm gonna rake you through the coals and I'm gonna make your life a living hell, and
oh,
I'm gonna
oh
take the
God.
mansion or whatever. So it was kind of like something you just sat down and said, look, you know what, the reality here is that it's just not jiving anymore, and I think it's we'd be better people, and I think the kids would probably grow up a little bit better if we weren't together.
We grew apart because we kind of just like evolved in different directions. We both like, decided that we both he liked different things than what I liked. You know what's wonderful about our relationship was that we never had bickering or fighting or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were both very mature adults to just because of the kids to do it to where it was amicable and it was for the interest of the kids. I think because my parents are still married till this day, and I have three siblings, and so I learned a lot from them, and they gave me great advice. They said, if you guys are growing apart, just stay friendly as much as possible, and try to make it where the kids don't even really notice. And that's how we try to do it. So we never really had big arguments or anything like that. It was always very neutral.
Your
So
husband, your new
yeah,
husband, and your ex-husband, are they kind of friendly, or are they kind of like
yeah. Like I mentioned to you before, was that they both get along very well for the sake of the kids because they help me with like taking the kids to carpool. All three of my kids are big into sports.
Mhm.
They all started playing golf when they were 3 years old. And so my late father-in-law, he was gave them all golf clubs and when they were 3 years old. So they started playing golf at a very young age and they all became very good athletes. They get my ex-husband's athleticism. So they're all big into sports, and so they go to a lot of sports events like practice, and they're in school sports. So there's three different sports every day. So we do a lot of carpool. We do a lot of practices. We have to take them to all their sporting events. So sometimes whenever I have lunch with the girls, or I have to do a podcast or fly to Mexico for my Spanish podcast, I am able to have them work it out where they communicate with each other, to make it all work. So that's one of the biggest things also that I give advice to my friends that they love and that they've said that that's one of the best advice I've given them also is try to always have a good relationship with your ex-husband.
Now, did
Because if
your
I
ex-husband get remarried?
no,
Okay.
he is enjoying dating.
Okay. That's funny. So, do you think the dynamics will change though if he does get married? I mean, do you think his wife's going to be like, "Well, she is your ex. Your children are older. Why don't you focus on our family instead of the your other family?" Do you think that might happen in the future? Do you think that would be a problem?
It's really interesting. He did date this one lawyer who was very much like that. She was like, Leslie's going to follow the rules that were in the divorce decree. Leslie's going to follow the rules that the judge gave. And my ex-husband's like, Leslie doesn't follow those rules. Leslie does what she wants. And she's like, no, she's going to do it. You're not going to text each other anymore. You're not going to call each other anymore. You're not going to do this, that anymore. She's going to have to do everything by that app because there's an app that you have to use to like whenever you're in divorce and you have to keep everything visual. She's like, she's going to have to do that. And she's like, well, good luck, but she's probably not going to do that. And so, yeah, exactly. So like within like a month or two, she was gone.
So funny. Now, Mike, what about you? I mean, how do you maintain a good relationship with your ex, with your kids?
Well, that's a man. Everybody has a different story with that.
Mm.
True.
It took time. It
Not
took time
everybody's
for
as
us.
lucky as I am. I keep the peace with, amongst my little
Tribe there.
Yeah, yeah. So it
my
took time.
bubble.
So, Mike,
Yeah, so,
what's your technique, or I mean, again, if you're comfortable talking about it, what's your situation in that
yeah.
sense?
I think I'm an open book in this. So I mean, it's good to share this information. Hopefully, it can help somebody who's
I'm
gone.
an open book too.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll ask
So
you all the different difficult questions.
right, please do ask her all of them. All right. So it took some time to become. Um, to be able to get along,
Mm.
after being married for 20 years and then going your own separate ways. And it was a
She was
process.
probably still in love with you
It,
because you're a very handsome guy.
oh, you're too much. Thank you. Thank you. You make me blush. but,
And a lot of
but
women have problems moving on from their relationships because they don't want to let go. They're mad that it didn't work out, and they're mad
yeah,
that that they still want to make it work, and they don't want to let go of their marriage. So yeah, I
yeah,
can see that happening.
yeah.
Mike, was your
So,
situation in the sense of like growing apart as well, just like Leslie, but just
um,
maybe not as
I,
friendly, I suppose?
as the years went by, we both wanted different things. And when we got married, I thought we were both 50-50. And you go to work, I go to work. We bring our money home, we share it together, and we do this. But we both will help. In the world that we live in today, you got to really be making a lot of money for one man or one woman to bring home the bacon and take care of all the things when you have, children to take care of. Yeah. So my partner had a different, plan than what we agreed on. So all the weight was on my shoulders. So it started to deteriorate with me having resentments about that. I started drinking heavily towards the end of the relationship. That was really affecting me, and my family. And it took about 2 years for us to go ahead and get completely divorced after we separated, because we were both with one foot in, one foot out, and we were going to marriage counseling. And we're at marriage counseling. The counselor said, "Look, what is this for? If you're not here to put it back together, why are we even having these meetings together?" So right then and there, we agreed that, hey, let's get divorced. So we ended up getting the divorce, and other resentments were coming up as the process of the divorce was coming about. You think a person, they'll say, hey, I remember my ex-wife said, "I'll never try to do anything to hurt you if we ever get divorced." And I should have saw that as a red flag. I'm like, "You're already thinking about that." So when we did get a divorce, I'm like, the person changes when the divorce is happening. They change. You're like, "Who
Well,
are you?"
you definitely have all that baggage that, from the
Yeah, and
relationship and
those
those
things start.
experiences, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and those things started coming out, and I'm like, "Who are you?" And it's hurtful because you still love that person, um, and I love to love, and that's something that's passionate inside of me, and I'll always give you the benefit of the doubt, even when you're being horrible. This
And
is
you
the
probably didn't think that she had that in her, right? That she,
No, I didn't. I didn't. So
yeah.
as we went through that process, that's where I really started to have true resentments about her and not wanting to get along and not wanting to be agreeable or just be cohesive together when it came to dealing with our kids. We both started back and forth about certain things, so it became immature on both ends. I can't say it was just her; it was both of us. And I got into a relationship, and she started telling the kids to basically don't respect this lady that your father's dating now, and it changed it was so much, so
Oh,
much.
she got jealous.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it was, to be honest with you, and I never spent enough time to try to figure it out.
She got
So
jealous that you moved on and she probably didn't.
she had someone. She started dating someone also, and I was okay with it. I'm like, I've moved on, you've moved on. Let's just take care of our kids and let's co-parent. And she did not want to talk to me. She didn't want to have anything to do with me during that time, and that was tough for me. It was hard for me because I wanted nothing but to have a relationship with my kids. And she moved quite a distance away from me, so it was even harder to father my children.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, after it's been over a decade now, just over a decade, we are just now being able to be in the same place together and talk. Just this last week, my son was in a fashion show for Ed Hardy this week here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
I
That's
show up to
nice.
the fashion. I show up to the fashion show, and the lady comes down to the lobby to take me up to the show, and she goes, "Hey, Mr. Anderson, Dylan had me come down and get you, but oh, by the way, your ex-wife is up there also." And I went, "Okay, yeah, she's upstairs." She's like, "Well, should I place you somewhere different and this and that?" I said, "No, you shouldn't. You don't have to." So I get upstairs, and she sits me right next to my ex-wife, and we sat next to each other and talked and had a pleasant time watching our son, work a high fashion runway show.
So
And we
when
talked
did
and
it
chatted.
change? When did you
It,
finally like
it
come together?
literally, it just started changing. I mean, literally just started changing over the last month or two, and it gives you, it feels nice. It feels good to know, like, hey, I'm happy that we're able to just be in the same place, the same room, and speak to each other, and whatever else she might
Did
still be holding, she
something
can
happen
still
in
be
her
holding.
life that made her more of a positive person, or things just kind of going
I
her way
haven't
now?
I haven't
Wait,
spent enough time.
I
I
have
haven't
a
spent enough time
theory.
with her. I haven't spent enough time with her to even try to figure that out.
My
I want her to be happy. I want her to be full of life and enjoy the abundance and prosperity. But the rest, I really don't care about. Just be healthy and happy and be around for our kids. The rest is not my responsibility or my concern. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
James, do you think that because didn't you just say, Mike, that you recently broke up with your girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah. 9 years. Yeah. But she has a boyfriend too. She's already dating someone.
Right, but
Oh,
the
so when we went to the fashion show, the show's over, right? And then we go
Mhm.
down into the dressing room to hang out with my son in the dressing room with all the other models. And when she's down there, she's like, "Hey, son, will you let my boyfriend up?" Her boyfriend was there, and he was down in the car. Dylan didn't let him get into the show. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe he just couldn't get another person in. So
Mhm.
there was an after party on the rooftop. So I said, "Hey, I'll hang out for a little bit. I got to get up early for work, but I'll come up to the rooftop for the after party."
Mhm.
So as we're going up to the roof, uh, she says, "Hey, can you call, what's his name, and have him come up? Have my boyfriend come up." So he's like, "Okay." So he calls down and has him come up to the party. Now, my ex-wife had been chit-chatting and talking. We were getting along, having a great time, very respectful to one another. Soon as he comes up, zip, she doesn't say another word to me at all. That was it. Other than, "Hey, bye."
Wow. Do you think that, maybe that the boyfriend's intimidated by you and she's like doesn't want to piss him off?
I don't know. My question is, what has she been saying about me to the boyfriend? You know, like why would you just completely like mute yourself after we've been talking, you know, about our son and enjoying the, not as if we're trying to interact with each other on a romantic level. We're parents. We're parents. This is our child, and you know, and then all of a sudden the guy, her boyfriend, comes up and quiet as a mouse. And I didn't make much of it. I didn't make much of it. I
What
didn't
do
make
you
much
think happened, James?
I mean,
of
there's some kind of, I guess, maybe insecure. I mean, again, as you pointed out, Mike is a very attractive guy. So maybe
Oh,
the boyfriend may feel somewhat intimidated by that, and
I think so too.
maybe because he does, your ex-wife is kind of like, well, if I talk to him, God knows what the hell tonight could end up being. He'll be like,
yeah,
screaming and yelling and feeling insecure. So
yeah,
basically, that's probably her way of avoiding that situation entirely, and
yeah,
having, I guess, keeping the peace in that sense. I mean, again, I don't know her. I think I met her
yeah.
once
Right, right.
back in the day,
And
but
these are just topics. These are topics to talk about, you know. And I hope they would never fight about something like that,
uh,
you know, because my intentions are not ill will to
right.
create
It's like
any
it's not like you're trying to
imbalance in
get her
everything.
back. No,
No,
Yeah.
you
no,
just
no,
want to
no.
co-parent with her, and then
That's it.
basically
That's it.
so your kids can see
That's
that,
it.
okay, this is a healthy relationship. Yeah, they're no longer together anymore, but they
Yeah,
still trust each other in a sense to help me grow to be a better person
yeah.
themselves. Yeah, I
Exactly.
totally
And just
get that.
two mature adults, and let's look after our
Right.
children, you know.
What about you, Leslie?
And
What do you
that's
think?
Well, I think that whenever somebody shifts that dramatically, it's because she still has feelings for you.
mm,
And that's why she shifted her feelings and was really quiet and was
oh
different when he arrived,
yeah.
was because, she still feels like maybe perhaps there's a chance. And she's
Oh
feeling, and she's probably thinking also that now that you're single, you're back on the market. And that's, it sounds like she's got a better attitude now that you're single than when you were taken, because you
yeah.
were off the market.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, I'm telling you from a woman's perspective,
Yeah. Okay.
because I hear my girlfriends talk about this stuff all the time, and
Yeah.
everything that you're saying is very similar,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes it's hard to let go, and it's easier to like be a certain way around you when the boyfriend's not around than you know when it's
Of course.
not.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
this is exactly what she did, and it was very evident of what happened. So
Hmm.
it's in,
Yeah.
and there's always going to be a connection with you two because of your kids.
Of course, always.
So you know you never know.
You never.
She probably is thinking, gosh, there's a chance that, maybe one day if I play it cool, and she is doing her part
Yeah.
by being really nice to you, and, sitting next to you and being sweet and being talkative, and,
Mm,
watching your son walk down the runway. I mean,
yeah.
that's so much to be proud of, that your son is
Absolutely.
walking down the runway for Ed
Hmm.
Hardy. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, I,
The funny part about that is 20 years ago, I walked that runway for
did
the
you
original
really?
Ed Hardy. Yeah.
That's
And
funny.
then full circle, my son now is walking down that
That
runway
is funny.
for Ed Hardy. So that was really cool. And
Excellent.
they actually asked me after the show, hey, can you do the show next year? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you're gonna have to
Let me
send us some
check my
pictures.
schedule.
That's funny.
Well, you're gonna have to send us some pictures so that we can put
Oh,
them in to the podcast, and we can
yeah,
show us pictures
absolutely.
of.
Absolutely.
You know
Robert.
what, Mike? We don't know. It's like the mystery. Maybe we can
Yeah.
solve that in the
The
next
mystery.
episode. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey guys, it was a great first episode. I love it. Thank you guys. We'll be doing this again.
Bravo.
Guys, you can follow us on social media. At the end of the show, I'll have all of our where we're available. If you want to, email us and get advice from Mike, Ian, Leslie, or me. I don't know what the hell what advice I'll give you, but who knows? But thanks for joining us, guys. So long, guys. We'll see you next. We'll see you in a couple weeks.